Hello and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, the road to human kindness. I'm your host, Les Winston, and I'm the national spokesperson for socialcharity.org, which is a project of the Endow American Network Foundation. The Endow American Network Foundation is a 501c3 organization that was created to improve the public's awareness of how philanthropy can help themselves, their family, and the community. Other projects that we have in Endow American Network Foundation are the socialcharity.org website, Route 664 Radio, and the Council of Professional Philanthropic Advisors. The Council of Professional Philanthropic Advisors is a listing of all professional philanthropic advisors around the country. These are specialists in philanthropy. They are specialists in planning using philanthropy, and they work either for nonprofit organizations or for the public. You can find them listed. When you go to socialcharity.org, look for an advisor, and you can reach the listing there. The organization is supported by contributions, and we would like to continue to do what we're doing for the public's benefit. And so if you care to donate to what we're doing, if you would like to help by supporting what we're doing, we welcome those contributions, and you can do that at our website, socialcharity.org. I'm here with my co-host, Wanda, who is getting ready to stand up and leave.
No,
but she's going to stay for the next 2 seconds.
I'm playing with things.
Wanda is running the radio station, Route 664, and doing a phenomenal job.
Oh, yeah.
It's music that you can listen to that is very, very well picked, I would say. Yeah. It's about everything.
But it's about love.
Yeah.
Mostly love of
but
self.
You go from Bon Jovi to Eminem to Paul Simon to the Beatles.
Love of each other. Love of love. Just loving love. Loving things.
All positive things on the road to human kindness.
Yes.
And Route 664 is that road. So Route 664 deals with a section of the tax code. We named it Route 664 because this section of the tax code is very important in philanthropic planning. And my guest today is Daniel Nagito. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, Daniel. Daniel is a CFP in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And he is and has been very, very involved in philanthropic planning using 664 devices, Section 664 charitable remainder trusts. So our guest today, Daniel, how are you?
I'm fine. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. You've written several books, and I haven't had a chance to read them all, but I have read the titles, and the titles are very interesting.
Wait for the movie. The movie's going to be really good.
The movie? Okay. Who's starring? Who's going to play your role?
Brad Pitt.
Okay. All right, Dan. So I'm going to talk about the one book that the first book that's listed is The Power of Leveraging Charitable Remainder Trusts.
Right.
And we've been talking about 664 here on the program for quite a while. And of course, it's been one of the key elements of social charity planning. And we coined that phrase, social charity, because the work, the concepts or the things that you can do with charitable remainder trusts are similar. So tell us why there's so much power in leveraging a charitable remainder trust.
Well, you talk about 664. To me, that was one of the greatest gifts, if not the greatest gift ever done by Congress, which that itself is an oxymoron, ever done by Congress. Which created a series of tax benefits, and it's the least known section of the code. And unfortunately, and I mean this with all the love I can muster, unfortunately, it's talked about by charitable organizations and planned giving officers, and not enough by the practicing financial community. I mean, people who raise money for a living understand charity, understand a charitable remainder trust, which is generated under 664. But they're out there talking about giving a gift to charity. In my view, I got very fortunate, very young in my career, which was many, many years ago, to stumble onto this thing called the charitable remainder trust. And at that point, I was an investment advisor, and I said, "Holy cow! Wait a second."
Okay.
You can create a trust. You could
Can you repeat
could
that
drop
last part?
Repeat that last part, Dan. We had a little bit of a hiccup. So go ahead.
You can create a trust.
Yeah.
Where you could be your own trustee.
Mm-hmm.
You could transfer into this trust appreciated property that if you sell it, you're going to get clobbered in capital gains tax, which is about to get worse. And you can sell that property, let's say stocks, inside the trust and not pay 1 penny of capital gains tax. And you get an income from that trust for the rest of your life or for a period of years. And eventually it's going to go to charity and you get a tax deduction for being that smart. This doesn't make any sense to me. It's one of the great financial tools of all time. It's just we have to get our heads around it so that we can use it in everyday financial planning situations, not just estate planning, financial planning. It is a marvelous, powerful tool and needs to be recognized as that.
So everybody knows what a 401k is, right?
Right.
Everybody knows kind of what a 529 is. And why do they know that?
Because it's a tax code allows you to do those things.
Right, but it's been publicized.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's been publicized pretty heavily, but Section 664 hasn't been. And that's what I think is a really crucial part of getting the public's awareness about what you can do with the 664, with that section of the tax code. So, I mean, in the country today, there's a little over 100,000, only over 100,000 charitable remainder trusts. If you go to the IRS statistics on charitable organizations, charitable entities, there's only approximately 100,000 plus there. Why do you think that is?
I just think it's not publicized enough. I don't think enough people know about it from the financial community. That needs to be, that, hopefully people like you with your show, me writing books about it, it needs to be put forth by the financial community, and the media's got to pick it up. And here's the other part. It can get a little complex. And people understand 401ks. You take a portion of my salary, you put it away, it grows tax deferred. They understand 529 plans. I'm going to fund it for my grandson's education. They don't really get into the code. They understand what the code does that allows you to do these things. Why is it that we have to go into the weeds every time we talk about 664 and the charitable remainder trust? You just need to keep it simple. I write and speak, as you can tell, in New Jersey English, single syllables or less. And I try to get that through to people. It's like, you don't really need to know. Go to your accountant. The accountant will tell you that 664 is legitimate tax code. It's been around since 1969. Mm-hmm. But we feel we got to talk about 4-tier accounting, and we got to talk about present value of future income and the gift to charity. No, we got to talk about 4 things. Bypass of capital gains tax, increase your income, an income tax deduction, and here's the big one, a charitable legacy created with money you were going to lose anyway. That's what accidental philanthropy, which my book is about, that's about. We all know. By the way, can you tell that I'm not going to give you a chance to ask another question? I'm just going to talk.
That's okay. You can continue to talk. As long as you're making sense, it's fine with me.
Okay, well, that's going to change in a minute. We all know who a philanthropist is. You see their names on the side of buildings. You go to colleges, their wings, their hospital wings. We all get what a philanthropist is. But what we don't understand is we're all philanthropists. We're just sitting there being accidental philanthropists. When you send your taxes to Congress, they're going to invest that for you and distribute it for you on your behalf. And I don't care if you're left, right, middle, up, down. I don't care what political party you belong to. Nobody likes the way Congress manages our money, our tax dollars. But we just send it to them every year. You're going to sell a piece, you're going to sell your stock? Good, you got a 20% capital gains tax, off it goes. You just became a philanthropist. You're allowing them, Congress, to give your money away on your behalf, but you don't get any say in it. So all I'm saying is take accidental philanthropy and create strategic philanthropy. Take the money you were going to get clobbered with in taxes and move that to a charitable remainder trust. We can get into the details later on, but move it to a charitable remainder trust. And if you really want to have fun with it, make the beneficiary of your charitable remainder trust, your ultimate beneficiary, your own donor advised fund or your own family foundation, so your kids can stay involved and your grandkids and generations after you can stay involved in this act of philanthropy created with money that we know you were going to lose somewhere in capital gains tax, income tax, estate tax, you name it. We're a government that's $30 trillion in debt. You think they're going to make taxes any easier on us? It's not going to happen.
No, and this is going to become more powerful as that, if that does happen, of course, it's even more important that people pay attention to what they're doing with their tax dollars.
Yeah.
And so you also wrote a book called Don't Die Before You Read This.
Right.
And you have 7 steps in there. I want to publicize your book. Can you book available to anybody at this point where they can get it on Amazon or what?
Amazon has them. The Don't Die Until You Read This book, unfortunately, is 2 tax codes ago. So some of those, this outline is okay, but the tax references are a little out of whack. Okay. The charitable trust book is the one to focus on.
Okay, so what would be the first? Let me back up for a second. Who's a candidate for a charitable remainder trust?
Well,
let me do it this way. Who's a candidate for Social Security in the form of a 664?
Okay, it's not the people you think. It's not necessarily the wealthiest 1%. It's the vast middle of America. It's people who are not considered, super wealthy. They give money to charity. They don't need us. And so the people who have $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in their IRAs, 401ks, have accumulated some stock. If you do this properly, you don't need to have charitable remainder trusts. Do not have to be $1 million trusts. They could be $100,000 trusts. So I think if you're somewhere in that 10% range, middle America, the high end of the middle class, I hate to use that term, but the high end of the middle class, those are the best.
Which term do you hate to use, middle class or the high end?
The middle class.
You don't like middle class?
Middle class is just such a big aspect of America.
Well, it is, and I think it's shrinking though. The problem is that when we have more competition from the politicians, we're getting a smaller middle class. And I've kind of thought about this. 664 is kind of like a salvation for the middle class in the sense that they can do their own tax planning by holding onto their tax dollars.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I completely agree with that. And that's exactly what we're talking. We're singing off the same hymnal. The real class that's under attack, and it's not even a class, but is baby boomers. If you're born between 1946 and 1964, if you're in that baby boomer group,
mm-hmm.
you are under attack, not for the accumulation of wealth, but for your accumulated wealth. And wealth is a relative term. Wealth is whatever you have built up. It doesn't need to be a fortune. But if you've got money built into your IRA and you are approaching 72. Think about this. The government is going to force you to take money out of your IRA. You may not want to take it out. You may have other sources of income. You may have a pension plan. You may be a teacher with retirement. You may have a nice built up 401k, and you say, I don't want to touch it because it's taxable. I'll pass it to the next generation. Government doesn't allow you to do that. They force you, and that's what required minimum distributions are: forced liquidations for the sole purpose of paying tax. So if you're at 72,
they did that a while ago, and they've also opened up some avenues where you can gift your IRAs. You can gift them in large amounts directly to charity. But the thing is, you don't get a tax deduction for that.
Well, and your family doesn't benefit from that.
Yeah, the family doesn't benefit. So the thing is, it's such a win-win-win situation. I mean, why do you think Congress did this in 1969, all those years ago? What do you think the impetus was behind their reasoning?
I think at that time, Congress really was looking to get charities off the backs of Congress. Congress was funding a lot of these public institutions, and private institutions were clamoring for more help. So they created a tax code that literally shifted from government to the private sector by creating tax benefits. And by the way, people were starting to do it anyway. They just legitimized the process and put a code section on it. So it really benefited Congress to establish 664.
But yet they've never done anything to publicize it or to enhance the public's awareness of it. So it's really been, I think it was in the purview of the ultra wealthy for a long time because their advisors knew about it. And now advisors like you and myself and others around the country who understand how to use these devices, and that they are a little complex. I mean, you can have a lot of different varieties, and the nuance behind the creation of the trusts has to do with the individual's needs, and they can vary tremendously.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. They're not do-it-yourself trusts. You need to have a professional advisor. You need to have your financial advisor. You need to have your attorney involved, and you need to have your accountant involved.
And you need to have somebody that understands how these trusts actually work, and they have to be administered. Are they safe? Because that's one of the things that people ask. Are they safe?
Are the trusts themselves safe? I mean, it's only, the trust design is safe. It's the underlying investment inside the trust that's always at risk, but that's investment risk unless you choose. I mean, you can fund these things with cash and bonds, stocks, whatever you want, however you want to fund them. So the actual creation of the trust itself, you can go on irs.gov and download the charitable remainder trust. The document that they want you to use is right there for everybody to use. A lifetime trust, a term of years trust, a unit trust, an annuity trust. Any kind of trust you want is available for free. If you want to see what the IRS will accept, you could download that. You could take it to your attorney and say, this is what I want to do. And you need to have you really should have a philanthropic advisor involved. So you have
why, and the reason for the philanthropic advisor, why?
Well, I mean, he or she knows his way around the code. They know what you can and can't do. I go all over the country talking about this stuff, and oftentimes you get the people who see this as a way to do good things with their money. But let's face it, you and I have been around the block long enough to know a lot of people want to use this as a way to just get, a way to get around the tax code or do things with it that they shouldn't do, put assets in it that don't belong there. And I have no tolerance for that, but I mean, people do that. So a professional advisor, a philanthropic advisor, they know what you can and can't do. And they know that you need to stay between the two white lines and keep everything kosher. If that's enough metaphors for you.
Okay. So I think the big issue is, of course, when somebody's making a contribution to a 401k or to an IRA or even to Social Security, they're using cash.
Right.
And that's one of the major advantages of a 6664 trust is that you can put actually non-cash assets into the trust, and that's where you get into the planning issues that are really significant and need to have some behind the scenes knowledge that most people will not have.
And
So
you're right.
And so you're in your capacity as a CFP and in the way that you've kind of promoted yourself in this area of child remainder trust, are you finding that people are picking up on that and you're getting more acceptance in the community, or is it still kind of an uphill battle?
Actually, we have quite I had a quite robust practice doing this kind of work. We're also administrators of the trust, because what I like to do is say to a prospective donor, look, you can create this trust, and you could be hands-on as trustee. And our job as administrators is to do all the tax filings and all that kind of stuff, working with your accountant to keep everything on the up and up with the IRS. So
as an administrator, I mean, you're really doing the same thing that an administrator of a 401k plan does,
yeah.
or a custodian for an IRA. There's got to be, the government has put some guidelines on how these things can be controlled and how they're reported and so on. So there's no gaps in this thing with regard to how you can, be involved in something that's not legitimate. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
My guest is Dan Nagito. Is that the right way to pronounce your last name? I'm sorry, Dan.
Nagito. That's okay. Fine.
Okay.
I've been called worse.
Okay. Nagito?
Yeah.
Okay. Dan Nagito in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And so if you are listening to this program and you think you might want to have a consult with Dan, are you available?
I'm always available. Why would I be talking to you?
I figured that, but I thought I'd ask anyway.
Nagito.com.
Pardon me?
My last name.com. Nigito.com.
Nigito.com. Okay. You also wrote a book called Avoiding the Estate Tax Trap.
Right.
Is that the newest book?
No, that's the first, that book came out in 92. The latest book is the charitable book.
The Power of Leveraging the Child Remainder Trust by Dan Nagito. And Dan, thank you for joining us this morning on Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. And the program that we are recording now will be aired on our radio station from time to time. The radio station is Route 664, and you can get that by going to route664.org or going to socialcharity.org, the website. And we're going to be listing you on our roster of professional philanthropic advisors, and we'll have a little clip of what we've been talking about and invite people to listen to the entire interview so they can get to know you better. Yeah. And we also are supported by contributions. So if you know anybody that wants to support our work that we're doing here or the work of the Endow American Network Foundation, please go to socialcharity.org and donate there. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dan. We appreciate
thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a great service. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again. So, Wanda, we have some time left. Is Joe going to join us this morning?
I don't think he is.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the process that you go through when you create one of these trusts, or whether you're a candidate to create a trust. And that really has to do with whether or not you're paying taxes. If you're a taxpayer, as Dan was saying, you're an involuntary taxpayer, an involuntary philanthropist, rather, because you don't have a choice about paying taxes, but you do have a choice about how much you pay. And you can avoid taxes legitimately by using these devices that are built into the tax code for your use. So Section 664 is one of those. We call them Social Security. And you can learn more about Social Security at socialcharity.org as well.
I did have a question from a viewer.
Good.
Can insurance be used to start or fund a trust?
Insurance can be used if it has cash value in it, and you can gift that life insurance contract to a charitable remainder trust. So, but you have to gift the entire ownership of it. And they are valuable tools. Insurance is a fairly valuable asset that can be used in a child remainder trust. In many cases, life insurance is actually used to offset the gift that you're giving to charity in the charitable trust, so that your family still has the asset value, but you get the tax breaks and you get the income from whatever you've put into the trust. So they're done as replacements sometimes for the gift to charity, but in some cases they're actually gifts to charity.
All right.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Actually, one more. I guess we have an educational platform that they can learn more from, and I'm thinking that this is it.
Yeah, this is it. If you listen to this program and go to the YouTube channel, where you can see all of the shows, go through them. You can see interviews that we've done with other professional philanthropic advisors, administrators, people who are involved in this area, and also philanthropists, so you can get an idea of who else gives.
And that's socialsecurity.org.
Right. And this is Route 664, Road to Human Kindness.
Hop on board. And
listen to the radio station, Route 664. Great music, great chatter from time to time.
For sure.
And
really great music.
We're starting to expand our programming a little bit. We have Jay Foster on.
Some health tips. Jay is a biochemist.
Okay.
So a little holistic.
And also you can hear Dead Air from time to time.
That's on the weekends. Next week, our guest is one of your favorite authors, Mark Weber.
Oh, great. Yeah, so Mark has written some very good guidelines in his book, The Charitable Legacy. And that'll be a very interesting interview. So be sure to tune in. And after that, listen to it on Route 664, the radio.
If you miss it here, you can always catch it there.
Exactly.
Route664.org. See you next week.
Thanks a lot. Donate.